representative from Alaska, Karla and Sinda.
Karla is an expert on the cruise tour world. She was born and raised in Alaska. She lives in Alaska in the high season, and this girl knows Alaska one side and down the other. So I think cruise tours are kind of a big thing in our neck of the woods because we're sort of a little bit like Alaska here in Minnesota, especially up north. But I know cruise tours are growing in popularity as well. So I just wanted everyone to be able to have a good idea of how Norwegian is set to do cruise tours in Alaska. I know we've got some stiff competition up there, so I really just want to make sure everybody has a really good handle on how Norwegian does their cruise tours. So with no further ado, I introduce you to Karla and Sinda. Thank you.
So, how many of you have been to Alaska before? How many of you, keep your hands in the air, how many of you have been to Denali National Park? Nice! I'm going to let you guys come up here and do this. I need some tater tots. So, the next little about an hour, we're going to go through the 9 great ways that Norwegian has to share Alaska with your guests and be able to show them the ins and the outs, the back roads of Alaska like no one else can. Everybody have a right hand? Put your hand in the air, right hand. Go like this. Ooh, aren't we lucky? Flip it around. That is the shape of Alaska. You have a map of Alaska on the back of your hand. Never are you lost in Alaska when you have an advantage. All right? If you do the left hand, it's like Louisiana. I can't help you there. So in the next hour, we are going to go through and share with you the different programs. But what I want to talk to you right now about is for you to kind of open your mind up for a moment and track with me as I train you on these programs because they're building blocks. So once you learn the foundations, you've got it for everything, okay? So I don't want you to look at these things and go, oh my gosh, this is way too much for me to try to absorb because things just kind of follow in a pattern. Once you know about Fairbanks, and I'm going to talk about that, that's in our interior part in the city, and our Golden Heart City, right in the middle of your hand. Once you know what's happening in Fairbanks, you know what's happening in Fairbanks with all the programs that go there or end there, right? Once I talk to you about Alyeska, and that's in the little community of Girdwood, you're gonna know that, right? So it works out pretty well. And then with all those hands that came up that have been to Alaska and to Denali, congratulate yourselves. Usually I come into these programs and hands go up. They've all done the inside passage, which is down by your thumb, and nobody's ever come into interior Alaska. So you guys are our representatives as well, knowing how important it is to see all of Alaska, right? Not just the Pacific Northwest. So I'm going to show you this little video real quick because I need to make sure that you know how to say Alaska properly. Brendan, I'm sure you do. So this video was put out by the Alaska Travel Industry Association, and it shows all of Alaska. So anywhere where you see big water, that's where the ship is going to be. Anywhere that you see this is on the way down to Seward, our embark and debark port. Flying. Of course, if you want to come see the Northern Lights, when do you have to come?
Winter.
Right, when it's dark, which is today. It's finally getting dark in Alaska. It's pretty nice, actually. This is Southeast Alaska. This is where the ship does their bit. Denali, this is the south face of Denali coming out of Talkeetna. Of course, this is down in Southeast Alaska, Ketchikan, Juneau, the Tlingit and Haida. My cuspuk that I'm wearing today is coming out of Nome, Alaska, last Tuesday. I'm pretty excited about that. Bears, we have a lot of them, you guys do too. Somebody just posted a picture of a moose here, so we don't have to get too excited about all that, thank goodness. This is Fairbanks. This is part of the Riverboat Discovery presentation that our guests get to do on the way to Seward. Palmer, Alaska. This is Anchorage, that's where I live. Half the year now. Anybody? Caribou. Yeah, that's what we're eating in the back, only ours is domesticated, so it's reindeer. That's why a little sample of Alaska in the back for you. Reindeer sausage, please note, it's a slow reindeer, so it will not slow up Christmas for you. Muskox, I didn't bring my Umiak, but for those of you that have been there, you know that's some of the warmest fur in the world. It's really lightweight and it's fantastic. Denali from Talkeetna, we have a program that does that. Puffins, one of my favorite birds, shorebirds. So our Denali Valdez program crosses a body of water that's prevalent what they're going to see there, birds and mammals. Glaciers galore off the ship, of course. This is Homer, where our Authentic Alaska program goes at the end of our road. They do. Eagles, I love eagles. Riverboat Discovery in Fairbanks. This is what the Authentic Alaska program and our Denali Fairbanks Explorer program does. Fireweed, my favorite. We were on fire this summer. Many of you were watching the news. We came out pretty much as we went into it, but it was a hot summer for us. We were in the 80s and 90s this year, which is valuable for us. Canadian Basic, Kramer's Field in Fairbanks. And then, of course, we all get to ride on the Alaska Railroad in some form or fashion. Every one of our programs includes an Alaska Railroad experience. Okay, we're getting ready to say it properly. We'll say it all together. Alaska. Ready? Hold on. See, I love it. That means it's winter and I'm back in Miami. I love that. So I'm born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska. I haven't died, so I've not lived there my whole life. People ask me that a lot. I made it 51 years and then decided that, there's this place called Miami. And it's sunny in the winter and you don't have to shovel anything. And so I spend a lot of time there in the winter now. We're going to talk to you about Alaska 2020. We had a great 19 season. I will tell you this, Alaska is one hot destination even when we aren't on fire. So if you have guests that are wanting to go to Alaska, there's no time like the present. Everything in Alaska is going up and up and up in price, so it's never going to be cheaper than this coming season in 2020 for certain. In your bags, you have so many gifts with purchase here today, and you didn't even need to purchase anything, it's ridiculous. In your bag is a book that is the 2019 Alaska book that you will be able to get the 2020 version as soon as it's out through your, what is it called, Sinda?
NorwegianCentral.com.
NorwegianCentral.com. One of the things that is also in that book is this little cheat sheet. And you may want to pop that out and take some notes on the back today as we go. And then when this book arrives available, please grab it. It is everything you need to know about Norwegian cruise tours in one handy book. This has the itinerary that your guests need. This has everything that you need to know about selling Norwegian in one handy area. Yes, you can get a PDF version of it, but you know what? Sometimes being handy is better. In your little packet of goodies here, there is a pen, an Alaska pen, if you need to take notes. You've got that in there. There's also, should be a piece of candy in here, and I just want to give everybody a shout out. If you're allergic to nuts, don't eat it because I don't have an EpiPen. It is birch candy made with our birch tree sap, and it has nuts in it, and it's a little toffee, so enjoy. So, let's, without further ado, get going. So y'all know Alaska is really big, right? We've got all this diverse area. We've got the two ships three now actually, 3 ships into Alaskan waters. One of them is the Jewel, and that does Vancouver to Seward or Seward back to Vancouver, the open jaw segment. And then we have the 2 that do round trip Seattle, the Bliss and the Joy. That's correct, right? For 2020, we're still keeping Bliss and Joy? Yeah. So, we have a lot of opportunities to showcase Alaska, not only on the ship, picking the best ships in the water, the newest ships in the water, for certain, but also to showcase how, what really is in Alaska. When guests are doing just the 7-day sailing and doing Southeast Alaska, they're seeing that little green part of Alaska, which is awesome, but it's the Pacific Northwest. It's like going to Seattle, it's going to Vancouver, BC. It's big Tongass rainforest trees. It's gorgeous. It is everything that has to do with coastal communities. Where I'm from isn't like that. We are inland. We have tundra. We have small spindly trees, and we got big old moose, caribou, wolves, and things like that. When you take Alaska and lay it over the contiguous United States, you know, I love it when people say, what's the weather like? Well, where would you like me to pick? It changes just like everywhere else in the world. What do you tell people to pack when they come to Alaska? Layers, right? Because if you can take it off, put it on, you're going to be happy. If you don't like our weather, we always say, wait 20 minutes and it'll be something good. Don't get excited about it. I always love to ask people, you know, if you take their state and put it in there, how many Alaskas, how many of your states are going to fit into Alaska? Anybody want to take a guess? 6. 4, 6. You know what's really funny? My girl did this for me in the office yesterday. I don't even know. Let's see. 8 times. Woo! All right. So 8 times Minnesota fits. So one of the things that happens when people come to Alaska is they kind of don't understand why we have some full days traveling. And that's because we only have 3 roads. That's if you get really creative. We've got one that goes north and one that goes south. That's really the same road, but we like to call it 2. And then one that goes east, and if we wanted to, we could drive for 4 days to get to Vancouver, BC. So what we don't have, besides lots of roads, is we don't have these things called exits. So some days are a little bit fuller on motor coaches or train travel because we're trying to just get from point A to point B, and there wasn't in the middle, anything in the middle. So we do make stops for potties and things like that and photo stops. But there is no Krispy Kremes. We have one in Anchorage now, but none of them. Cinda said earlier to get all of your information. We have given you in your book, in your bag, if you get the cruise tour book out, you will find a cheat sheet. This cheat sheet is for 2020. The book was for 2019. There's not a lot of changes in the book this year, so don't worry. This book is pretty good, pretty much spot on for 2020. All right, but both of these things you can get in Cruising Central as well. We have now 9 great ways to see authentic Alaska because we have cruise tour products that are coming off of the Joy and the Bliss in 2020. I will talk about those at the very end. By then you'll be experts and you'll get it really quickly what's going on with those programs. I'd like you to have a look at the screen here because what I do is I like to break these down for you really quickly. It's not hard to figure out our method of madness here. We have 2 express programs. In the word express, you think short and sweet and to the point, right? These are for our time-sensitive, money-conscious passengers. These are the inside cabin passengers that you want to put on. This is not where you want to put Lady Astor, okay? This is where you want to put somebody that just wants to get to Denali quickly, have a little bit of a shot of seeing it, and then off we go. 3-star hotels, moderate, less things that are included in these programs, all right? Where we really shine is in the middle section, which is our Explorer class. So we have 2 expresses, and then the rest of our programs have Explorer in the name with one little exception, and that's the Authentic Alaska, but just remember it's an Explorer too, okay? These ones have inclusions and upgrades. They have nicer hotels where available, and this is something that is great. This is where we really shine. The other 2 programs that we have are uniquely Norwegian. I love these 2 programs. They're the longest programs we have. They're 14 days in duration, 7 on the ship, 7 on the land. These 2 programs go to the ends of the road, literally in Alaska. Authentic Alaska goes to Homer, Alaska, the southernmost tip of Alaska that we can drive to. And the Valdez program goes to the terminus of the Alaska Pipeline. For those of you that are familiar with from Prudhoe Bay down, we have 800 miles of a pipe that pumps crude oil down there. It's absolutely spectacular. So these are definitely the road less traveled programs, but they are very popular with our Norwegian guests because it does get them into roads less traveled for certain. Every one of our programs every one of our programs are fully escorted which means a tour director, a driver, stays with the guest the entire time while they're on tour. How many of you have gone on an escorted tour? So yeah, great. You get it. I didn't start doing escorted touring until about 3 years ago, even though I've been in this industry for 17 years. And I have finally figured out it's super nice to let someone else be in charge, right? Oh my gosh, they take your luggage. We take luggage for guests. We handle all of that for them. Our tour director is like their concierge 24 hours, 7 days a week with these guests as they're on land with us. They can answer any questions. Our drivers are professional, wonderful drivers. Every one of our tours fully escorted, whether it's an express program or the Explorer class and above, right? All fully escorted. Airport transfers are included in every one of our programs as well. This is the #1 biggest thing that I find interesting. You book an escorted program, but then you don't tell us the air arrival information. We can't pick you up on a land tour if you don't tell us when you're coming. This is not like an embark and debark day where everybody's doing the same thing on the same day. Remember, for escorted tourings, we have 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7-day tours that are starting those many days before the embark, right? So we have to have that information. I do believe that with Norwegian now, you can actually do it online. You don't have to call in. That was something that they were working on last year to get that in. So please make sure when you're booking your guests, if you don't use the Norwegian Air, that's totally all right. You want to make sure that you call back or you get that in there so we know when to pick them up. We only get about 17% of the people that are traveling with us, their air. So when we go into Alaska, we have 2 airports. We have 2 airports, one in Anchorage, one in Fairbanks. They're 350 miles apart. Every single tour, we have somebody that arrives at the wrong airport and aren't they surprised. It's a bit like me landing in Minneapolis and thinking I'm in Chicago. I can get there, but not easily, right? So it's really important on the cheat sheet. You're gonna see another picture here in a minute. There's all kinds of X's and O's and that's all great. One of my guys in Florida makes this for me every year. But at the very, very bottom is what you want to pay attention to. And that is where our tours actually start or end from. It is really, really important to know this because if you get them in the wrong city, your guests have to transfer by a little small commuter plane and they're not very happy. Every person, every airport transfer, as long as you provide that information to us 10 days prior to the start of the tour, we will pick them up. No problemo. We also take them back to the airport at the end of the tours if they're on the coast. So this just reminds you, very last line tells us, we have 5, 6 that start in Fairbanks now, I think 6, 7, 8, 9, is it 3 in Anchorage, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 in Anchorage if my math is right. So it is really important that you pay attention to that when you're booking your guests on a trip. What's interesting is guests will get excited, right? They'll look at this program and it will start in Anchorage, but by the time you've already got them situated, they've picked another program, and legitimately it may start in Fairbanks, and they're just thinking, oh, all programs start in Anchorage. Remember, please, 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 it's always important to keep this handy to look at it. I do like this, if you keep this sheet, like just at your desk or something, honestly, everything you need to know about Norwegian Cruise Tours is on this paper. It works out really well for you. All right, I'm not going to go through this part for you because I'm not sure how your bookings are. Sorry, I should have gotten out of this bit. Land tours enhance the cruise tours. We know this because it helps the guests come in and really immerse themselves in Alaska. They want to see the glaciers. They want to see the animals. Of course, they want to try to see our big mountain Denali, right? 20,310 feet tall now. She shrunk 10 feet over the last time we went there. But it's an absolutely spectacular place to come and see. You wouldn't send guests all the way to Africa and not go on a safari. Why are we sending them all the way across the Gulf of Alaska or all the way into Southeast Alaska and not have them come just a little bit farther and actually experience Alaska, right? It also helps for all of you to make more commission, make more money, right? But ultimately, it's the experience for the guests that we're really trying to do. Our points of differentiation for Norwegian is that we are all fully escorted. Our tour directors, our drivers are local. They love to share Alaska with the guests. Our motor coaches are some of the nicest motor coaches in the state of Alaska. We have a fleet of almost 100, and they are all new to newest. They are Pravos, so they're your neighbors here across the way. They come from Quebec, and they are beautiful motor coaches. So guests ride around in Alaska in comfort with their fully escorted tour director and driver. Cool thing about having a dedicated motor coach and a driver is just like my car, I keep my gym bag in the back, because someday I'm gonna make it to the gym and I'll be ready. Right? So we can keep anything that we want on the motor coaches throughout the tour. The other thing an escorted tour does is it allows you to make friends with people, and all of a sudden you don't have to have a death grip on your bag, right? Because you trust the person sitting next to you. This is different than the Holland American Princess Rex styling of touring in Alaska. They do a great job of it, not going to lie, but it is rep. By the time your guests that are booked on those kind of tours are doing that, they have met 5 or 6 people by day 3. Your guests on Norwegian have met their tour director, their driver, and a guest for services representative at the airport on their arrival. That's who they know. So by day 2, we know your name. You don't even have to remember your name. There's no keys to hand out to guests. No one goes to the front desk to get room keys because we have them all. We hand them out. We expedite all the luggage getting to and from the rooms. Goes right onto the motor coach. We've got this great system here. Unless you really annoy us, you don't lose your luggage. All right? So it is awesome. That is the point of differentiation for us for sure, is that we do try to do that for all guests. We also include animal sightings. We guarantee animal sightings on the Jewel programs, okay? Not on the Bliss, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that we take one person on each motor coach, slather them up with peanut butter, and send them out to the middle of the wild? No! It means we're going to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. This is a non-profit drive-through game preserve that actually has all of the large animals of Alaska that are being rehabilitated. They all had some serious drinking problems with their flying habit. They've been hurt, orphaned, or that. When we can get them out into the wild, they go back into the wild. Otherwise, they have large 4, 8, 12 acre enclosures for each of the different types of animals. It's gorgeous, and guests get to drive through. They also have an opportunity to walk through. This is at the end of the Portage Valley, so for those of you that are familiar with South Central Alaska, this is where you make the turn either to go to Whittier to the left, or keep going around and go up the turning an arm to go to Seward. Spectacular. They put in a brand new bear viewing area where this is of course a black bear on the other side of the grizzlies that were trying to eat these people. No, there are 3 grizzlies on the other side that are absolutely stellar to see up close and personal. We have moose there. We also have large muskox and wood bison that are there as well. So I'm going to digress for just a second and talk to you about Seward, Alaska. Anybody know why this is an important place for Norwegian Cruise Line? Yes! This is our smarty IT girl. Faith has got it all down. Seward is our embark and debark port in Alaska for the cruise tour program for the Jewel. This port is 123 miles away from Anchorage. There's a very small airport that people think they can fly into, and about once every 6 to 7 days they can because of weather, but usually it's the jets. Everyone needs to fly into or out of Anchorage or Fairbanks to start or end those tours, and then for guests that are just doing cruise only, they fly into Anchorage to take the transfers down to Seward. This is one thing where customer service-wise, can I tell you, you're missing the boat if you do not, no pun intended, if you are not selling for cruise-only guests, okay? For just a few minutes, I'm gonna talk just about cruise-only guests, not guests that can do our land tours. Cruise-only guests, if you are not selling them a pre-purchased transfer, ship to airport, airport to ship transfer, you are missing out exponentially on guest satisfaction, especially in Seward. At 123 miles away from the airport that they need to get to, when they step out and they think they're gonna find a taxi, boy, are they surprised, right? The taxi that is in Seward is a van. It has the plastic geese stuck to the top of it. It's great. That transfer is gonna cost them about $300, right? So talk about awkward. When you can give them the transfer on the motor coach, or Norwegian also does a cruise train, right? If their flights allow for that. These are transfers that include luggage handling. They are no longer schlepping their luggage on and off the motor, off the ship, right? They don't have to worry about that. We take care of it. We take them either to the airport if their flights are within a certain time range, or we have a complimentary hospitality center located right in downtown Anchorage. Not only do we take them to that hospitality center, their luggage is there if they have later flights in the day. They have access to the luggage to and from the whole day. And then when they're ready to go back to the airport for their scheduled flight home, we actually take them back complimentary with their luggage, right? Don't miss the opportunity to sell those transfers to your guests. It just makes it seamless from door to door for them. The cruise train is one of the options that guests have for cruise-only passengers. This is a transfer available to the guests. It is the best, most beautiful thing for guests to start or end their cruise with. I promise you, if they can only do cruise only. It gets them on the single level dome cars, forward and backwards facing seats because it's tabletop seating for 4 on the train. The maximum speed this train goes at any given time is about 38 miles an hour. Don't tell everybody that it's tabletop seating of 4 because everybody will tell you they have to ride forwards or they'll get sick. If you can get sick on this train, I'll give you a prize. It doesn't go fast enough to worry about it. This is not superimposed. This cruise train literally comes right to the dock and they walk right on it or walk right off depending on which way they're going. This is sold as a transfer, so it is a little bit different. It's sold as a transfer. It's also sometimes on the ship it's sold as an excursion. But make sure that you are paying attention to this. If your guests have flights booked later than 5 p.m. out of Anchorage, this is a perfect way for them to come into the city.
So what if transfers were included?
Transfers
Just on the cruise tour?
just on the cruise tour.
Okay.
Yep, just the cruise tour. So that was my little blurb of cruise only. Now we're gonna talk about land the whole way out now. So one of the biggest issues that we have in cruise touring is getting people to understand that one, we have 9 different varieties, 9 different tours. So if you talk to a guest and you say, oh, you're gonna go to Alaska on the Denali program, every one of our tours go to Denali. That does not help us know what city you need to fly into or out of, what's gonna be included. We have had times where guests have booked families together and grandma and grandpa got booked on a different tour completely. It's really because they're booking through you, they're booking online, they're doing whatever. So it's really important that when you are selling cruise tours in Alaska, that you use the proper names so your guests know exactly what they're booking, all right? Every one of them is unique. It's also really important that you allow us the opportunity to keep the traveling list traveling with. And if I don't know, you have not linked them together, I don't know that the Smith and Wessons are really traveling together. I also can't look through a manifest and put every Smith on the same coach because we did that one time and it got them mad. They weren't all together. Okay, so we've tried it all, but the best thing to do is just link the reservations together. So make sure. Sometimes that takes your agent, super agent years of hearing somebody talking to you. All of a sudden, you just think you're booking one couple and you find out that they're actually mixing, trying to mix up with 14 other couples on the ship. That makes you the super agent when you figure that out and you link them together. Anytime you have a question like that, you can always reach out to Sinda, say, hey, I've got this weird little anomaly, what should I do? She can give you information. If she doesn't know how to get that information to you right then, she'll contact me and we're there to help. I'm your eyes and ears on the ground in Alaska, and we want this to be perfect for your guests when they get here. Traveling lists are one of the most important things that you can remember from this day. It's important to let us know that they're all traveling together. Pairing the right cruise tour with the right guest is also mission critical to get everybody happy in the world. Remember we had those 2 express programs that I talked about? These are short and sweet and to the point. Between these two programs, the best value, the best program, because it goes from the Tundra to the Tide, they get an included riverboat discovery, is the Fairbanks Denali Express. You might want to just make a star on that one, the second column over. I say this in all sincerity. Born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska, I can be as sarcastic as anything, especially because I'm a bit German. Okay, all German. But I kid you not when I say the Fairbanks Denali Express program is our best express program that we offer. And it has to do with the flow and timing of the tour. When guests fly into Fairbanks on a pre-cruise format, I talk about pre or northbound. Does everyone understand northbound when I say that? It's starting, the cruise starts in Vancouver. They do northbound, and then they get off the ship and go. So there's the northbound, and then we do the southbound. I do all of my trainings, I talk about it in the southbound format, where they're gonna start at home, fly into the correct city, do their land tour, go down to the ship, and sail southbound to Vancouver, all right? So on the southbound itinerary for the Fairbanks Denali Express, guests come into Fairbanks and they overnight. They immediately start a 2-night in the same hotel, 2 nights. That is glorious for anyone that does any amount of traveling, right? You got a minute to get acclimated to where you are. If you're coming to Alaska between May 15th, which is when we're open, and September 15th, 20th, when we close down, you are going to arrive and it is going to be daylight, no matter what time you arrive, right? This throws people when going to sleep. Some people actually have to have it dark. So if they do, there is a sure and fast way to make your room dark when you're in Alaska. You take your hand and you go like this. Okay, it's dark now, and then you go to sleep. The 2-night stay makes it absolutely wonderful for the guests to acclimate to Fairbanks, acclimate to Alaska. Also included is the riverboat discovery. This is a 3-hour journey down the Chino River. It absolutely immerses them into the culture of interior Alaska with the Athabasca natives, also with what it was like for the Westerners coming in the early 1890s, 1900s for gold rush, what it's like to live contemporarily now in Fairbanks, Alaska, which in the summertime gets to be 80, 90, 100 degrees and 24 hours of daylight. Right now, they're losing daylight by about 5 minutes a day. It'll be about 4 hours of daylight by December 21st, our shortest day of the year. And 40 to 60 below is not uncommon for them, okay? Crazy people live in Fairbanks. They love to share it with everyone there, right? It's awesome for your guests, gets them up there to be able to see it. It also gives them the best opportunity to see the Northern Lights in early May and late September, late August and September, if they have a program that starts in Fairbanks, all right? So keep that in mind. These two programs are moderate. They have 1-night stays in Denali National Park. We use like a 3-star hotel called the Grizzly Bear or something similar. All of our hotels are guaranteed 30 days out. Your guests pick up that information on their e-documents when the e-docs are released. And don't get, I know it's hard, I know it's hard for guests to understand that they may not know a year in advance what hotel they're staying, but the or similar really does work to their advantage because it allows us to put more passengers on programs to allow the extra people to be added in last minute and that kind of thing. 30 days prior is when they get their hotel assignments. All right. The express programs, because there are low price leaders and keeping prices down, everything is a little bit shorter. So the hotels are moderate. We also use the shorter tour into Denali National Park, and because you guys have all been there, it's great. You know the terminology of this. The Denali Natural History Tour, I'll talk about it in a little bit, is a little bit shorter tour. That's included in the express programs. And then also we use the Alaska Railroad Adventure Class cars. So these, in this training, you're gonna find that there are 3 different train configurations, right? So you have the cruise train that is only available going from Anchorage to Seward, Seward to Anchorage for just cruise passengers only, right? For our cruise tour passengers, we have 2 types of trains. We have the Alaska Railroad Adventure Class, and then we have the Deluxe Dome Rail cars. Deluxe Dome Rail cars is what makes us go head to head with Holland America and Princess, okay? They're the pretty train cars, double decker. I'll have some pictures in a minute for you. The express programs because those train cars, the deluxe storm rail, are a little bit more expensive. Remember, these are our low price leader programs. They have the Alaska Railroad, where they can walk in the adventure cars, go back and forth. They have meal plans that are more like grab and go, all right? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Let's talk about the Denali Natural History Tour for a minute. Acronym for that is DNHT. For those of you that have been in the industry a long time, really big news on the Denali Natural History Tour is that 3 years ago, they actually changed the program up to where instead of going 17 miles into the park, it now goes 30 miles into the park. This is huge for guest satisfaction and for guests being able to see some of the animals and not having to spend the 8 hours on the bus ride in. Every tour that goes into Denali National Park, whether it be the Denali Natural History Tour or the other longer tour called the Tundra Wilderness Tour, all goes in on the Park Service buses that you see in this picture right here, all right? Every person transfers. We don't take our big fancy motor coaches in here. This is the only time the tour director is not with the guests as well, and that is because this tour is fully narrated by the driver of the bus. It is an employee. They are absolutely impeccable with their narration. When there's an animal sighting, the bus will pull over when it's safe. They have spotting scopes, and then they have these drop-down video monitors throughout the bus that guests can see. I've got some of the best pictures of bears taking a picture of the screen versus out there, out the window, but with my naked eye, I can see the bear. I get the good picture on the screen. These are glorified school buses. They're padded seats, those drop-down windows that go like this and drop down. We do have most of them now that have air conditioning in them, which on the 3 days out of the year that we usually need it, it's available. There are heat on these buses. They are buses. They are not motor coaches, and that's because there's no potties on them. So the buses make stops about every hour, 45 minutes, every 2 hours, something in that line for the convenience of the guests, and they enjoy it. So going 30 miles into the park now makes the Denali Natural History Tour a really nice option for people that might want to come back out to the front country, do a little hiking on their own or something like that. Denali Natural History Tour, 4 to 5 hours in duration, 2 opportunities to see the mountain now. That's that big mountain Denali. You know that the reason why is she's so big she makes her own weather. That's why just because it's there, it's not guaranteed to see it. And 25 to 30 miles into the park. The other tour that we include on all of our Explorer programs and above is the Tundra Wilderness Tour. This is that longer 7 to 8 hour tour, 3 opportunities to see the mountain going 60 miles into the park. Why would you want to go on the longer tour? Why do we include that on our Explorer programs? Because most of our guests really do want to go as far into the park as they can, have as many opportunities to see animals as they possibly can. Remember, Denali National Park is 6 million acres of pristine wilderness. There's no tracking, there's no fencing, there's no baiting of the animals. These animals can go wherever they want. There are more moose in the city limits of Anchorage, Alaska, where I was born and raised, than there are in Denali National Park. So we are always looking for animals everywhere we go. But hopefully you will see them on one of these programs. On your cheat sheet, if you want to know what programs have the express program or the DNH sheet, you could look over, find it. The 4 to 5 hour Denali Natural History Tour versus the Tundra Wilderness Tour. That's kind of how this cheat sheet was designed, so you can look that up. Once you have your books, or if you would like to make a little notation on the 2 express programs, the one and only thing that can be upgraded with the tour director when your guests are in Alaska is if your guests on the express programs want to do the Denali Natural, the Tundra Wilderness Tour, the longer tour, they can upgrade with the tour director when they are in Alaska to go on that tour. It's about $60, all right? That is one thing because guests are really savvy now with Google and all of that. You know, if you do the #1 thing to see in Denali National Park or to do, it's going to be the Tundra Wilderness Tour. These guys can upgrade for $60, and it works out really well. A good portion of people actually do that. This is the train for the Alaska Railroad and the deluxe storm rail cars. So blue and gold cars here on the left-hand side, that's the Alaska Railroad. The deluxe storm rail cars are on the right-hand side, at the very end, the right-hand side. These all have upper level seats forward facing the block. The Alaska Railroad is included with our 2 express programs, so the Anchorage Denali and the Fairbanks Denali Express programs. Open air vestibules, big picture windows, forward facing seats, get to meet the conductor, get to go into a grab and go. So this is, remember, moderate, right? If they want a sit-down meal, they can grab something here, sit down here, or take it back to their seat in the car. Express programs use the lesser classes service train cars. All right, Fairbanks is our Golden Heart City, right in the center. The Fairbanks Express program, remember this is the one that I said is the best value for the bang for the buck for the 4 days on land, and that is because they get to go do the Riverboat Discovery. Riverboat Discovery is the 3-hour journey down the Chena River, where they get to learn about what it was like in olden times in Fairbanks, what it's like in contemporary times, and also then they get about a 45-minute stop where they get to walk around and recreate it at the Basque Native Village, which really gives guests an in-depth look at what is going on in Alaska here and now. In Alaska, on all of our cruise tour programs, the tour director is the concierge for all of your guest activities while they're on land. They book all their optional tours with us when they're there. That's not to cut you out of commission, it is to make sure that the timing of everything works and that your guests don't get double booked on something. We do not get the Tundra Wilderness Tour or the Denali Natural History Tour times until 24 hours prior to your guests arriving in Denali. That's because it is a Park Service regulation. They build all the bus consists, and then we get told when the guests are going. So they're in the back of the book that you have on the 2019 cruise tour book. There are some suggested things that can be done in optional tours. This is just a sampling. There will be more options for your guests. Anyone is willing, you can Google anything now, right? What I really want to encourage you is do not encourage your guests to book these things prior to arrival. This is different than the ship where they need to be booking their shorts months and months and months in advance. When we're in Denali, we are a small little private Idaho in our motor coaches, all right? We are not in a port of call where there's 4,000 other people trying to get on a flight seating tour, right? Let the tour director handle all of that for your guests, because then we can maximize the time that your guests have while they're on land, and they get to do exactly what they want to do when they're in Alaska. All right. Our Explorer programs. Now this is the best. This is where we start doing our inclusions and upgrades, right? So we have nicer hotels. We do included things on the programs. So, by example, our Denali by Rail. It's our best relaxed-paced freestyle program. It has 2 rail segments in it, and it is just a nice way for guests that maybe have never done escorted travel or aren't too sure about being on a motor coach that long a time. The Denali by Rail program is a perfect program for them. Our best-selling tour for the entire programming is the Denali Alyeska Explorer, and that has to do with the fact that it does have a 2-night stay in Denali National Park, and it does have a 1-night stay in our nicest hotel in Alaska, which is the Hotel Alyeska. Hotel Alyeska sits at the base of our Mount Alyeska that we ski in the winter time. It's absolutely spectacular. Then, what we had brand new for this year, and happy to say it's going to be back this year as well, is the Denali Talkeetna Explorer. This is where if you have guests that really want to see the Denali the mountain, you double their chances here. Because if the mountain is out, you see it from the deck of the Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge from the south side. And then it also includes, because we're in the Explorers, the upgrades are going to be there on the Tundra Wilderness Tour. They get the opportunity on the north side to try to see the mountain as well, so double the chances. The Denali Talkeetna Explorer program with the Bliss and the Jewel programs, these are only pre-cruise programming. Everything else does it the same, mirror images, whether it be northbound and southbound, with the exception of the Denali Talkeetna. All right, so our Explorer programs now, remember our Express programs were short and sweet, moderate hotels, Alaska Railroad, Adventure Class cars, Denali Natural History Tour. Now, all of the rest of our programs are Explorer class. So they're gonna have the Dome Rail, that we'll talk about here in a minute. They're gonna have that longer Tundra Wilderness Tour that we've already talked about. And we're including a little something extra for all of these guys. And that is getting to go to a kennel tour, a musher. You guys are familiar with dog machines. I think we've had somebody win there, didn't we, one year. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, So, that is one of these hidden gems that if you were to say, oh, you have to pick this program because you can go to a mushroom, they'd be for that. But once they get there and they hold puppies, they meet these guys, this is our authentic Alaskan programming, right? Where we're having you meet local Alaskans, having them tell you your stories. That's what makes these programs so spectacular for us. So now let's talk about those lovely deluxe rail cars. These are all upper level forward facing seats. I like to remind you that in Alaska, we can keep your guests charged up, but we can't always keep you connected. We still do not have Wi-Fi and 5G and 4G and all that in every area. So there will be in and out times when we can always keep you connected. Let's talk a minute about meals on cruise tours. How many meals are included in our cruise tours?
Zero.
Yes. Yes. Now that's not because you're coming for the Biggest Loser tour. All right, it's because we want guests to have the opportunity to choose what they want, where they want, and how they want to eat it. We've got one lady here that's gluten-free. My tour director is going to be able to tell her exactly where some great spots are to go for that. Maybe I'm a drinker in the morning, kombucha that is. I don't eat a full meal. So if we were to include breakfast daily, like the meal packages that you can get with Holland America and Princess, let me explain to you how those really don't benefit your guests. How many of you would go to New York City for a 5-day stay and eat in the hotel the same every night?
Right.
Anybody? Okay, when you're purchasing the meal plans with any of the cruise lines, that's what you're doing. You are doing that because they own their hotels, they own their restaurants, and they are eating the same thing. I took a VIP one time through the system, and we kind of went into the other programs, and we had the Kenai BLT, we had the Denali BLT, and we had the Copper River BLT. It was the same menu at all three properties, it just had different little lanes, okay? Please know that that's why we do not include, we're not trying to make it difficult for your guests, we're not trying to nickel and dime them and have their wallets out all the time. But food is a very individual thing for people, and having it always included, I promise you, by day 4, when you're on an escorted tour, you can't put one more waffle in your mouth, okay? It really does work to give guests the ability to choose. So, Wilderness Express is a prime example of where we have taken the dining, it's for purchase, guests have that opportunity to eat while they're on the train, but we have a lot of locally sourced items. We have reindeer chili, by example. We use birch syrup. That's why I bring a Taste of Alaska to the back. Make sure on your way out that you check it out. There's reindeer sausage back there, hot on the right, mild on the left. And the birch mustard. We use birch sap, like you do maple here. And it's delightful. We have beers on board, local beers, local vodka. Because what we've noticed is if we keep your guests liquored up, they have a great time. It's fantastic. So we enjoy serving them halibut on board. We do, like I said, the reindeer chili. These are all just experiences, again, that local experience of coming to Alaska. Wilderness Express dome rail cars, all the dome rail cars are basically the same. Upper level seating, forward facing seating, gorgeous to go through any part of the Alaska tour. Tundra Wilderness Tour, that 7 to 8 hour tour, goes into the park. This now, remember on the express programs, if your guests want to do that, they need to pay $60 additional. It's now already included in all of our Explorer programs. When you start looking at the express program, if your guests can give you one more day, that's all it takes is one more day. When you add it up with better rooms, inclusions, it's like a no-brainer. Don't you have a sick day? Don't you have just one more day to be able to be out there? Our Explorer class is definitely where you want the mainstream of your clients to be looking at, because it's just better value for them. That's the picture of Denali. That's what we hope for every day, but because she's so tall, she makes her own weather. So that's why we want to give people as many opportunities as we can. In our Explorer class programs, we have something that's included, and that's basically, we have picked the best little option out there in each unique location. So at the Denali Alyeska, by example, the tram ride is included for the guests. They go up the 2,300 feet and get to see the views of the 7 glaciers. It's a restaurant and also the surrounding area, which is absolutely fantastic. The Hotel LES is the nicest hotel we have in the state. It is the only reason why your guests should bring a swimming suit, because we have a beautiful hot tub and swimming pool at this property. All right, kennel tours. Oh yeah, those darn puppies. Everybody loves them. Everybody loves a puppy and everybody loves the mushers. The mushers and the puppies make this experience. If you have guests that are cat people, you can tell them we're sorry. In Alaska, we like a lot of dogs. But usually people have a really wonderful chance to learn about the Iditarod sled dog race. Again, learn about what it means for people to live in Alaska year round. If guests are allergic to the animals or they don't want to come in contact is close, they get to choose their experience, right? No one's forcing a puppy on them, no one's making them go out and check out the big dogs and that kind of stuff. But it is a fun experience for everyone. All right. So, Denali by Rail is our program that has 2 rail segments in it. It does arrives into Fairbanks, it does a musher visit, does the Gold Dredge number 8. We talked a little bit about the Riverboat Discovery. Gold Dredge number 8 is the sister property up in Fairbanks. When you get your books, usually we have these for you for 2020. In your book right now, if you wanted to flip over to the page, I was a little apprehensive to have you do a whole lot in these ones because I just don't want you to forget to get your 2020. But on page, whatever this one is, hold on. 12, thank you. On page 12, this will just remind you, Deluxe Dome Rail are the white cars, and who are they for? Explorer. Adventure Class is the blue and gold, and who are they for? Express, right? So this book has everything. The other thing I want to remind you before I forget, this book has your timing, your itinerary that your guests will get at 30 days prior. Southbound is on the left, northbound is on the right. The only exception to that is the Authentic Alaska. It's so big, it has 2 pages, so there's a northbound and a southbound. So when your guests leave and they know what they want, you can photocopy this, do whatever you want. They've got the itinerary. This is the exact itinerary they will get when they pick up their tour documents. So, Gold Dredge number 8, guests get to get on a narrow gauge rail, learn about what it's like to try to get gold out of the frozen ground, and then they have their opportunity to try their hand at panning for gold. When they pan for gold, this water is warm, unlike if you were a real sourdough. Everyone gets to keep the gold that they get out of their poke sack. Everyone leaves a winner, but the real mining is after they get their gold, you take it up and get it weighed, and then they want you to turn it into a necklace or earrings or something fun. And they have the best gift shop in the state, so I always like to tell guests, you know, the mining is your dollars into that gift shop at the end. People love it. The Denali Talkeetna Tour is an awesome program, and it is very, let me get you to that page here. It is going to be on page 20. Remember, this is only a southbound itinerary, so this is not a misprint when you get to the book. It is only a southbound itinerary. But the program actually starts in Fairbanks, so they get to do the Riverboat Discovery, which is a great add-on for them. They also get the 2-night stay. I took this picture myself standing on the deck of the Talkeetna Alaska Lodge. When the mountain is out, she's huge there. Remember that only 70% of the people that come to Alaska do not see the mountain. It's only 30% that actually do. So you double it down, you double down. If you've seen it, how many of you have seen her? Yeah, right, it's awesome. So the Talkeetna program, this is kind of a hidden jewel right now, I'm not gonna lie. This program has not gotten a lot of traction because it's kind of hard to find on the website and all that. So be the Alaska expert for your guests. They can do a southbound itinerary. Just don't get yourself painted in a corner by starting with this program unless you know you have ship space, right? It's gotta be southbound. Anybody like discounts and deals? Yeah? Do you know the best discount out there in Alaskan waters is the northbound sailings, right? People think that they have to do southbound because they're gonna get so tired or flying that they wanna do all their Alaska stuff, or, you know, fly in and then sail for 7 days. come on, who doesn't want to start in Vancouver, one of the most beautiful cities ever, have 7 days of being pampered, not having to listen to your husband tell you which way to go, right? You unpack for 7 days, then you get off the ship and go do a land tour for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Those northbound itineraries, I'm telling you people, they are the way to go. But there's an old track out there that tells us that's not the case. Talkeetna is the quaint little community where there are more bars than anything else, and you gotta love a place like that. And where you can see the mountain from just about every turn. It's absolutely stunning. The two uniquely Norwegian programs that we have are the Valdez. Yes, it is Valdez. I'm trying to learn Spanish. I know it should be Valdez, but we say Valdez in Alaska. The 14-day Denali Valdez program and the 14-day Authentic Alaska. These are our longest tours that we have. They are fantastic for guests that want to go to the end of the road. So, Authentic Alaska does 2 nights in Denali National Park and also does stays, 2-night stays in Homer, Alaska, where if they want to do fishing, it is big water fishing. They have the ability to do salmon fishing, cod fishing, and some halibut. Halibut is very, very regulated in Alaska now, so they can't always go fishing for that. Denali Valdez program gets to go through the Prince William Sound area, which is fantastic. It has over 26 glaciers, but who's counting, right? They see more glaciers and they know what to do with. And then also the marine wildlife is out there as well for them. Even though the Authentic Alaska does not have Explorer, I'm trying to get it added to the name, the Explorer. It is an Explorer program. So both of these programs have the Deluxe Storm Rail. What else do they have? The Tundra Wilderness Tour, yep. And they also have the Musher Visit. The one thing to keep in mind is that they do have upgraded hotels where available, but when we're at the end of the road in Homer and Valdez, we're down to more of a moderate hotel again. That's just because that's all there is there. Okay. But guests are usually pretty good about that. All right, Denali Valdez program goes into Fairbanks and it does not start in Fairbanks. It actually starts in Anchorage, right? Yep. It starts in Anchorage, but goes up to Fairbanks, does Gold Dredge number 8, then does a small boat day trip from Valdez over to Whittier. For those of you that are familiar with Whittier, Whittier is where we go through the 2.5-mile long tunnel that is shared by the train and cars. And the half hour really defines the light at the end of the tunnel. Could be the oncoming train. They time it out well. But it's an awesome opportunity for guests on this unique experience for Denali Valdez to go across that pristine water. Authentic Alaska goes down to Homer. Homer is the halibut fishing capital of the world. We know that because they have a sign that tells us. Homer is one of my favorite places in all of Alaska for sure. It has the spit, that man-made bit of land that goes out 4 miles into the water, where there's a boardwalk and that, and guests have the opportunity to be there for 2 days, 2 nights now, which is really nice. So now we're going to talk about the land programs for the Jewel and the Bliss. And to let you know that those this year are going to be bundled, is my understanding. But in years past, they were sold as an add-on. So I haven't gotten the 411. You guys are my first training of the 2020 season. Thank you very much. It always makes me excited to start, but we haven't got quite all of my ducks in line yet, so I apologize. But in your programming for 19, did any of you sell any land tours off the Joy or the Bliss? No one? Okay. It was sold as an add-on. What happens is a land add-on, where usually cruise tours are bundled together, so you're picking your cabin, you're picking your package, those packages are bundled together. It's not such a sticker shock when you do that, in all honesty. When they are taken out as an individual, you actually see what it costs to come to Denali for, multiple days. These are not marked up any more or any less. This has just happened to be, they were outside that line, so if you saw them, you would see what it was. So on the programs for the Joy and the Bliss, they may still do that, but they also did something pretty cool for the Jewel. And that is, how many of you sell guests on just round trip, or not a round trip, but an open jaw to a guest, and then maybe a month or 2 later they come back and go, oh man, I just heard about going on land, or you might want to call them back and say, hey, there's this great opportunity to go on land, do you want to add it on? You are able to do that with Norwegian products on the southbound itineraries only. on all of our Jewel programs, which really makes it nice. So it doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, trying to upsell someone a $2,000 package is, you know, I'll give you a free bear if you can make it happen. You want to do it. You want to think about cruise tours. When you send your guests to Alaska, when you talk about Alaska, you want to start with the cruise tour. You're not going to go to Alaska and not see it all, do the whole thing. Then guests are prepared for it. If you try to upsell them, that's a little challenging. All right, so we have the Seattle Denali Explorer is what the Bliss and the Joy itineraries are. The Bliss itinerary is a 6-day program. The Joy itinerary is a 5-day program. And that is because the Joy is sailing on Saturday, the Bliss is sailing on Sunday. But they all come into Anchorage on the same day, which is the Tuesday prior to the ship's sailing. And they all go into Fairbanks, right? So these programs are free. So what happens is your guests leave home, they fly to Fairbanks, Alaska. They do this little short 6-day or 5-day program up in Alaska. They wind up, both programs wind up in Anchorage. The flight from Anchorage back to Seattle to join the ship is included in the package price. So your guests have to just buy old school days of remembering what was called open jaw. Now we just give them all a bunch of one-way tickets, right? But this would be considered an open jaw. They would go from home to Fairbanks, Seattle, back home. Because that middle segment is on an airplane, but that's basically their transfer to the ship, okay? If you kind of look at it that way, right? So we have a lot of success with these programs when people understand that that 3-hour flight from Seattle to Fairbanks, or from Seattle to Fairbanks, gets them into the heart of Alaska, right? You wouldn't go all the way to Europe, and if we had an opportunity to go somewhere that's 3 hours off of there, why wouldn't we, right? You're already all the way to Europe. Basically, from here, you can fly to Europe faster than you can fly to Alaska. So you might as well get there in Seattle, is my motto, right? Boy, do I know that. I'm born and raised in Alaska. I have very little sympathy for people that get off the plane and go, do you know I just traveled for 9 hours? Yes. So, these programs are in the back. The one thing about your book that is not correct from 2019 is the fact that we have changed the programming for the Jewel, so it no longer matches the itinerary that's here that says Bliss is now the Joy itinerary in your book. In 2020, we'll have 2 because the Bliss then will have an additional day. The additional day is in Anchorage at the end. So the Bliss passengers will overnight in Anchorage on Saturday and fly to the ship on Sunday. The airplane ride from Anchorage to Seattle, and then the transfer from the Seattle airport with their luggage to the ship is all included in the package price. All right. Cool. And optional tours we talked about, right? Who books them? The travel agents when they're in Alaska. That way they don't get double booked. What do they need to book right away as soon as it opens? Short excursions. Yes, absolutely. Hotels are subject to availability and changing in the back, or similar. We guarantee the hotels at 30 days prior. Guests pick up that information when they are on their e-documents at 30 days prior, NCL e-docs, blah, blah, blah.